Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is Thursday, so that means we're going to count down 13 things, and today it is the worst owners in U.S. sports. So that's NFL teams, NBA teams, all the teams. Probably not all the teams. Did he cover lacrosse teams? I don't even know who owns lacrosse teams. Anyways, that's our list, 13 of the worst owners in sports. Yeah.
Yep.
And welcome to Before Coffee. It's the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up our stories 10 to 15 minutes before we start, and we haven't drunk any caffeine. So, let's get started with the headline. Today on Before Coffee, 9 water firms halted from using customers' cash to pay for their £6.8 million of bonuses.
An Australian tourist dies after drinking tainted alcohol. And Russia says U.S. base in Poland threatens nuclear war.
Campaigners renew plea for public inquiry 50 years after Birmingham pub bombings.
On Thursday 13, we look at the 13 worst owners in professional sports.
For culture news, majority back British Museum exhibit on transatlantic slave trade.
And it's National Stuffing Day. So get stuffed. November 21st, 2024, on Before Coffee.
Start this episode off with some news coming out of my favorite water company, Thames Water, and 9 other firms who are trying to use customers' money, so money they're used for their profits or just money that they pay so that they can have water, to pay out £6.8 million of bonuses, right? So not even actual we need this money for upgrading. No, we're just giving £6.8 million of bonuses to the CEO, and we're gonna cash out basically before they shut us down. This is from the Herald Scotland in association with the PA News Agency. 9 water companies, including the stricken Thames Water, have been prevented from using customer money to fund undeserved bonuses for top bosses worth £6.8 million under new powers the regulator has announced. Ofwat said it had stepped in to halt water companies that cannot show that bonuses are sufficiently linked to performance, especially since companies like Thames Water have been getting in trouble the past 2 years for being terrible at monitoring water and regulating water safety. And then it's yeah, we did a good job, guys. Here's some money. Bonuses are not sufficiently linked to performance from using customer money to fund the payouts, amounting to 73% of total executive awards proposed across the industry. Debt-laden Thames Water is among 3 firms. Yeah, pay the debt before you give bonuses. Also including Yorkshire Water, Dir Cymru Welsh Water, which were both directly blocked from allowing customers to pay the £1.5 million of bonuses. Ofwat said a further 6 companies had voluntarily decided not to push the cost of executive bonuses worth a combined £5.2 million onto customers, with shareholders instead paying. It added it would otherwise have moved to block the payouts. David Black, chief executive of Ofwat, said, "In stopping customers from paying for undeserved bonuses that do not properly reflect performance, we are looking to sharpen executive mindsets and push companies to improve their performance and culture of accountability. While we are starting to see companies take some positive steps, they need to do more to rebuild public trust. I think they've lost it. I don't know if they're ever going to rebuild it. Really, you're paying out bonuses to your CEOs while your water is full of sewage? Come on." Ofwat said new rules on water company bonuses and dividend payouts to shareholders were beginning to bite in the first full year since being introduced. In blocking the awards, Ofwat will instead adjust cost for the company so that they can recover it from customers. It revealed that Thames Water, more than £16 billion in debt and at the center of growing public outrage over pollution and rising bills, was planning to use customer cash to pay £770,000 in bonuses for its chief executive, Chris Weston, and chief financial officer, Alistair Cochrane. Both of those people should just, get a life. Action is also taken against £616,000 worth of payouts for top bosses at Yorkshire Water, and £163,000 of bonuses at Deir Simru Welsh Water. Secretary of State for the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, Steve Reed, said, "It is disgraceful that half of water companies have given out unjustifiable and unmerited bonuses. This is why the government is introducing urgent legislation to ban the payment of unfair bonuses to polluting water bosses, so payouts of this kind can never happen again. There are deeper issues that need long-term solution, which is why we have launched the largest review of sector since privatization." Water firms paid out a total of £9.3 million in executive bonuses over the last financial year, Ofwat revealed. It comes at a time of growing public and political pressure on the sector to address a dire recent performance on sewage pollution and leaks while customer bills are soaring. What the hell are we paying for? Well, the company bonuses, that's what you're paying for, because you're not paying for good water. Ofwat said it would be able to block bonus payouts entirely under the new water bill being brought by the government. The regulator also published its latest report on water firm resilience, showing that £1 billion was paid out in shareholder dividends from 2023 to 24, though this was a £400 million less than the previous years thanks to a clear link to performance. In the report, it named Thames Water, South East Water, and Southern Water as being in need of action to address the big holes in their finances. Wow, you mean the water companies surrounding London are corrupt? I could have never guessed! This means that the three firms are subject to high priority monitoring and cash lockup measures, which prevents them from paying dividends without approval from the regulator. A further 7 companies have been declared as having an elevated concern over their financial resilience, while 6 firms are deemed to be standard with no specific concerns over their financial health. Mr. Black said, "Our new rules are exec pay and dividends linked to both to companies' performance. Through these new rules, our enforcement action and our incentive regime, which has imposed a £430 million in performance penalties since 2020, we are challenging companies to deliver improvements for both customers and the environment." Water watchdog Ofwat is expected to confirm in December how much it will allow water companies to increase their bills by over the next 5 years. So hopefully by 25 cents or something, or I guess 25 pence. And not anymore. That's your max you can increase. Stop increasing these bills for these poor people in England and I guess Wales. They didn't mention any Scottish companies here, so I don't know. In the UK, stop. If you're not going to deliver good water, don't even decrease your prices, I say. Hey, good luck, your prices are going down. But the sewage is going up. Yeah, delicious cholera. Anyways, that's my fascination with water companies in the United Kingdom. To your story.
Okay. We're not hitting the big time stories like that. We're hitting the kind of personal, individual, danger type stories. This is from the SeattleTimes.com. Australian tourist dies after drinking tainted alcohol. Alcohol necessarily isn't good, even though alcohol kills all germs. It might kill you because depending on how it was distilled or preserved. And the headline says Australian tourist dies after drinking tainted alcohol in Laos, raising toll to 4, including America. An Australian teenager has died after drinking tainted alcohol in Laos in what Australia's Prime Minister on Thursday called every parent's nightmare. An American and 2 Danish tourists also died, officials said, after reports that multiple people, this is from Seattle Times, they're reporting with the Australian spin, that's weird. Officials said reports that multiple people had been sickened in a town popular with backpackers. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese told Parliament that a 90-year-old Bianca Jones had died after being evacuated from Van Vieg, Laos, for treatment in a Thai hospital. Her friend, also 19, remains hospitalized in neighboring Thailand. This is every parent's very worst fear and nightmare that no one should have to endure, Albanese said. We also take this moment to say that we're thinking of Bianca's friend, Holly Bowles, who is fighting for her life. They are believed to have consumed drinks tainted with methanol, which is sometimes added to mixed drinks as a disreputable bars is a cheaper alternative to alcohol that can cause severe poisoning or death. Yeah, don't drink methanol. You are drinking basically grain alcohol.
Yeah.
They are believed to have consumed that can cause severe poisoning. The telephone numbers listed for Laos Health Ministry did not work, and police refused to comment on the incident. Australia says several foreign nationals had also been victims of methanol poisoning. The U.S. State Department confirmed that an American had also died at Van Vieng, and Denmark's foreign ministry said two of its citizens had also died at the incident in Laos, but neither would comment directly on a link to the methanol poisoning that killed Jones. Sean Bowles told reporters outside Bangkok Hospital on Wednesday that his daughter remained in critical condition and on life support. We'd just like to thank everyone from back home for all the support and love we've been receiving, but we also like people to appreciate right now we just need privacy so we can spend as much time as we can with Holly. In a statement to the Melbourne Herald Sun newspaper, Jones' family asked for privacy in their grief. She was surrounded by love, and we are comforted by the knowledge that her incredible spirit touched so many lives during her life with us, the family wrote. We want to express our deepest gratitude for the overwhelming support, love, and prayers we received from across Australia. The U.S. State Department said local authorities were investigating the case and were responsible for providing any details, and that the U.S. was providing consular assistance. We offer our sincerest condolences to the family on their loss, the State Department said in an email statement to the Associated Press. Landlocked Laos is one of Southeast Asia's poorest nations and a popular tourist destination. Vang Vieng is particularly popular among backpackers seeking partying and adventure sports. Details on the alcohol poisoning began trickling out about a week after the two Australian women fell ill on November 13th following a night out drinking with a group in the remote town. Thai authorities confirmed that Jones had died by brain swelling due to high levels of methanol found in her system.
God.
Drink spiking and methanol poisoning are far too common in many parts of the world, Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong said after receiving news of Jones' death. At this time, I would have to say to parents, to young people, please have a conversation about risk. Please inform yourselves. Please let's work together to ensure this tragedy doesn't happen again. New England's foreign ministry said Thursday one of its citizens was also unwell in Laos and could be the victim of methanol poisoning. We have updated our travel advisory for Laos to note that there have been several cases of suspected methanol poisoning after consuming alcoholic drinks, New Zealand's foreign ministry said. Travelers are advised to be cautious about consuming alcoholic beverages, particularly cocktails and drinks made with spirits that may have been adulterated with harmful substances. Australia also updated its travel advice, cautioning that several foreign nationals had been victims of suspected methanol poisoning in Laos this month. The U.S. did not immediately issue an updated travel advisory. Why the hell not? On Tuesday, Duong Duc Toan, manager of the Nana Backpacker Hostel where the two Australian women stayed in Van Vieng, told the AP that staff were told by other guests that the two women were unwell after they failed to check out as planned on November 13th, and they managed to transport to hospital for them. The women were taken to Thailand for emergency medical treatment, and their parents flew to be with them. All Australians offer them our deepest sympathy at this time of heartbreak, Albanese said. Bianca's trip should have been a joyous time and a source of fond memories in years to come. It's all beyond sad that it was not to be. It's very, very sad. Very sad that your country can't even treat people in that country. They have to go to Thailand. That's really sad. But there's your sadness and more news more news involving, I don't even know how to segue into this. So let's just go to Poland. Russia says new U.S. base in Poland raises overall nuclear danger. Really? Why? Poland didn't say we can't build one there, right? Poland said, come on, build a ballistic missile defense base here. We want it. We don't give a shit what Russia says about it. Tough shit. This is Moscow and Warsaw. This is Reuters.com. Russia said on Thursday that a new U.S. ballistic missile defense base in northern Poland will lead to an increase in the overall level of nuclear danger at Warsaw. Said threats for Moscow only strengthen the argument for the NATO defenses. Exactly. Why do we need defenses? We've got an asshole that's always threatening us. That's why. And what does he do? He threatens you again. The air defense base, situation in the town of Redzikowo, near the Baltic coast, part of the broader NATO missile defense shield, was opened on November 13th. This is another frankly provocative step. I should do the Russian. This is a frankly provocative step in a series of deeply destabilizing actions by the Americans and their allies, Northern Alliance in the strategic sphere. Should I do a Russian accent?
Sure, go for
This
it.
is another frankly provocative. I can't do Russian
That was
accent.
Irish.
This leads to an undermining of strategic
Frankly,
ability,
I
increasing
can do a
strategic
female
grit.
one, but yeah. I can't do it in a man's voice.
Moose and squirrel. That's all I can say. You know? I can do my Boris Badenoff. The leads to undermining strategic stability, increasing strategic risk. I'm turning in some kind of mutant. This leads to undermining strategic stability, increasing strategic risk, and as a result, to an increase in the overall level of nuclear danger. Paweł Wronski, Poland's foreign minister spokesman, said there were no nuclear missiles at the base, which was purely for defense. Poland gets to defend itself. Believe it or not, Russia, Poland gets to defend itself.
You're not
It's a base that
partitioning them
serves
again.
the purpose of...
I say no to
Right.
Poland
What are you
partition.
doing?
0 for the future.
Yeah, you're just pissed because you were there. That just proves, or it suggests anyway, they were planning on invading Poland, doesn't it? It is a base that serves the purpose of defense, not attack, Goronsky said. Such threats will certainly serve as an argument to strengthen Poland's and NATO's air defenses. It should also be considered by the United States. The U.S. base at Redzikowo is part of a broader NATO missile shield dubbed Aegis Ashore, which the alliance says can intercept short to intermediate range ballistic missiles. Given the nature and level of threat posed by such Western military facilities, the missile defense base in Poland has long been added to the list of priority targets for potential destruction, which, if necessary, can be executed with a wide range of advanced weapons, Zakharova said. The NATO missile shield includes sites in Poland, Romania, as well as U.S. Navy destroyers at a naval base in Spain and an early warning radar in Turkey, according to NATO. There's your update on saber rattling from Moscow and your update
Saber
on
rattling.
tourists. Don't drink just anything anybody gives you. Getting drunk is overrated. Sorry, it is the most overrated thing in the world. Anyway, back to you.
Alright. My camera died for some reason.
No?
Turn it on and turn it off again. That's usually what you gotta do. I'm just frozen in place on my screen. Alright, there we go. Again, I don't know why I put markers on the floor if my green screen's never in the right position. Okay. From Russia and Laos, we go to more UK news, because I don't know why, but my news is very UK centric all the time. Just constantly, they just want to talk about themselves all the time. I live in the Netherlands, but all they want to report on is stuff happening in the US and the UK. Alright. This is on Independent by Matthew Cooper. Relatives of the people killed in the 1974 Birmingham pub bombings have renewed calls for public inquiry as a matter of urgency as they prepare to mark the 50th anniversary of IRA atrocities. Julie and Brian Hambleton, whose 18-year-old sister Maxine Hambleton died in the twin blasts, believe an inquiry could disclose new evidence capable of leading to a new investigation into the bombings. 21 people died and about 200 were injured on November 21st, 1974, when bombs exploded minutes apart in Mulberry Bush, at the foot of the Rotunda building, the tavern in the town in New Street. in what remains the worst unsolved terrorist atrocity committed in Great Britain. Speaking near a permanent memorial to victims outside New Street Station within sight of the Rotunda building, Julie Hamilton said of this week's anniversary and of the attacks, 50 years for us, just like last week, and for the survivors too. I would imagine that they relive it in their sleep with nightmares. Miss Hamilton, who found the long-running Justice for the 21 campaign group with her brother, added, "It's something that never goes away, and something that you never forget. And that's why our campaign exists, to be the voice of those who are not here to fight for justice and truth themselves." As for what he remembers the day of the attacks, Mr. Hamilton, who dropped Maxine off in the city center, said, "Unfortunately, I could narrate every minute of that evening from the very moment my sister ironed me a shirt. I asked her if she could iron me a shirt, and then I would give her a lift into the city center, which I would have done anyway." Mr. Hamilton became emotional as he added, "That's what I remember. Dropping her off, seeing her get out of the car and walk away. It's very hard. We've had to be hard in all other areas, fighting the authorities to get the truth. And it gets even worse every year because we find out more truths of what really happened on the night, as opposed to what the authorities want the public and ourselves to think." Mr. Hamilton and his sister, who both regard a 2019 inquest into the bombings which failed to examine which individuals were responsible as a whitewash, hope the public inquiry could force the disclosure of documents currently subject to a 75-year secrecy rule. What, are they going to find out the British actually did the bombing and it was a setup? I don't think they're going to find that out. Why are they keeping it secret is the real question, What are they keeping secret? Miss Hamilton, 61, who has been denied legal aid about 14 times during the group's campaigning, forcing to rely on donations, said, "Every day we campaign, including Thursday, whilst it will be the day that we remember everyone who's impacted that day, we fight for a statutory public inquiry. We would be able to compel people to give evidence. We'd be given access to documents that have previously been denied us, and actually been denied ever existed. That could potentially bring about new evidence. With new evidence, there's a possibility that a fresh investigation could take place. A potential perpetrator or perpetrators could be investigated. Because for our family, that's what we seek. Seek justice. This was murder. Pure and simple." Miss Hamilton questioned why public inquiries had, quite rightly in her view, been set up to examine the Manchester Arena bombing, the Grenfell tragedy, the Salisbury poisoning, but calls for one in Birmingham. Attacks had repeatedly fallen on deaf ears. Asking what her message to the government is, Miss Hamilton said, "Please give us a statutory one public inquiry as a matter of urgency. A public inquiry could help to bring some form of reconciliation for everyone who was impacted. Why does it appear that we, our city, are being discriminated against?" Mr. Hamilton, 69, said, "It wasn't just 21 people that died on that evening. A lot of family members died afterwards because they turned to alcohol, prescription drugs, or they just died heartbroken. We have met a lot of families that their relatives, and you can't escape the emotion of the time. I relived that night 50 years ago like no one can imagine. And when people say to us, 'We know how you feel,' we know they are being polite, but they don't. We would never want them to know. All we want is justice. As far as I'm concerned, I will be fighting for the truth to the day I die." Six Irishmen, Hugh Callaghan, Paddy Hill, Jerry Hunter, John Walker, Richard McIlkney, and Billy Powder were wrongly convicted over the attacks and jailed for life in 1975, but were freed in 1991 after the Court of Appeals ruled their convictions were untrue. Inquest hearings, which concluded in April 2019, found that a botched IRA warning call led to the deaths of 21 people unlawfully killed. All 11-member jury, which sat for almost 6 weeks, unanimously concluded an inadequate warning call by the Provisional IRA cost police searching the area vital minutes. They also found that there was no sufficient evidence of any failings, errors, or omissions by West Midlands Police response to the bomb warning call. During the inquest, a man identified in court only as Witness O named 4 of the men he claimed were involved in the bombings as Seamus McLaughlin, McMurray, Michael Hayes, and James Francis Gavin. McLaughlin, who was said to have planned the operation, died in 2014, and Gavin died in 2002. Hayes said in a media interview in 2017 that he took collective responsibility and defused a third bomb planted in Hagley Road, Birmingham on the night of the blast. Murray, who died in 1999, is said to have called in the botched warning. The inquest was told that the third unexploded bomb found near a bank was misplaced by police. The Crown Prosecution Service said in August last year that it could not bring charges despite a thorough and careful review of evidence related to the bombings after a reinvestigation by West Midlands Police. In a statement, West Midlands Police said, "The terrorist attacks 50 years ago, on November 21st, 1974, at the Mulberry Bush in the tavern in the town, pubs killed 21 innocent people, injured over 200, and devastated many more lives. We know the families and survivors of the tragedy feel the pain every bit as much now as they did then, and that they maintain a desire for answers regarding the events of that terrible day. The bombings were abhorrent, cowardly, and evil, and shook Birmingham's to its very core. Will always be remembered as one of Birmingham's darkest hours. But we will not tell you shit. That's all the information we'll give you. Some guy named Witness O named 4 people, with 3 of who are dead, and 1 who took collective responsibility and said he had defused a third bomb. So, I guess that's all the information, but I guess they want more. They want all the information. They don't want just like a partial. There's more information you're hiding from us. Because according to them, there's a 75-year, clause on some secrecy clause on some documents that might reveal some more information. And they just please just reveal those public documents. And then once you do, we'll know. But that's what they're asking for. There's the sad 40-year, was it 40-year anniversary, or was it 50? I can't do math.
What was the 80s?
The sad, tragic anniversary of the Birmingham bombing that killed 21 people. 21 innocent people, had nothing to do with anything. They weren't. Nobody was a political, anti-Irish unity politician. Nothing, right? They were just random people who were going to the tavern in the Mulberry Bush, and they got killed for being there in the city center. So, rest in peace, and I hope that the Hambletons, Julie and Brian, can get more information on the sad murder of their 18-year-old sister who died in 74.
Terrible.
And on to our Thursday's 13. I wasn't alive for this, so I didn't know what happened.
All right, we have... Yeah, I had my microphone off. I'm sorry, what's that?
No, I'm just saying, I wasn't alive when these things happened, so I didn't even know there was a terrible bombing in Birmingham. Because I was not even in existence, Terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. Yep. From bad news, we're going to our Thursday 13, which I guess we're talking about rich people generally don't serve a purpose, right? I mean, it's all nice to be rich and everything, but how much money do you really need? And the worst of the rich people seem to be the kind that think they want to buy a sports team because they think, oh, I have my little kid, I like sports, and I know how to run a sports team because I know how to do it. But a lot of them fail, and they fail miserably because you can't run a sports team like a business, right? Mm-hmm. You have to draft players, develop players, right? Give them some time, let them fail.
You have to know who they are,
let
even.
Them fail.
Right. To care about them.
Let
as
a
people.
Coaching staff build a culture, right? Yep. Let a coaching staff build a culture, right? Build a fan base, get the fan base to trust you. All of that stuff has to go into it. But not these guys. They want a quick turnaround on their dollar. Yeah. And we come up with a 13th
team, and hopefully it makes me billions, and then I can give it to somebody else. I don't know.
Right. They're looking at, again, the NFL, for one thing, is a great investment. If you can buy an NFL team, you don't do anything. You get revenue sharing if you're the worst team. If you're a worst team, you get a high pick every year. So these owners know this. So they're winning. They pay lip service to winning. They pretend to care about winning, and they prove it by firing coaches constantly, which doesn't prove anything except you don't know how to run a business. So a lot of these guys, and I looked it up, are, no surprise, Nepo babies. I've got 13 on the list. The list of 13, I've got 1, 2, 3,
13 Nepo
4,
babies.
5, 6.
What did you mark them? With an N, a giant N. The end of shame.
Yeah, it's like, it seems like 8 nipple babies. Let me count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9 of the 13 are nippos. Isn't that surprising? That didn't earn their money to begin with, so they don't know what the hell to do to make money, right? Or to run a team. Even making money ain't even the point, because like I said, the NFL is set up to make money. If you can't make money as an NFL owner, you're incompetent.
I'll always say the most impressive thing a nepo baby can do is make money. The most impressive thing they can ever do.
Right.
It's like, wow, you actually succeeded without getting it handed to you. Good job. Look at you.
Right.
Get a little trophy.
Oh, not kill yourself and your friends. That's the most impressive thing you can do. So our number one, and not necessarily any kind of logical or preference order or anything, Jimmy Haslam, who owns the Cleveland Browns and is now a part owner of the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Milwaukee Bucks have suddenly become a terrible fucking team. And I think it's his fault, because they made a big trade last year. It was supposed to make them great, and now they're like a below 500 team. It sucks. It can't beat even bad teams. Jimmy Haslam owns the Cleveland Browns. The worst thing he did there was he traded for Deshaun Watson. Just if you know about Deshaun Watson trade, Deshaun Watson was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL at one time. But then he got accused of being a sexual predator, and he had to pay upwards of $92 million of settlements to women who were supposedly giving him massages, but he never wanted to stop it. Just a massage, old Deshaun Watson.
While you're here.
So the Houston Texans no longer wanted him. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is Cleveland Browns, Jimmy Haslam said, hey, let's have that guy in our team. Let's not only have that guy in our team, let's trade a bunch of draft picks for him. And then, not even the worst part, he gave him the biggest contract in the history of the NFL and guaranteed money. $230 million guaranteed to a sexual predator who no longer is playing. He is injured. He tore his Achilles. He was bad when he was on the field for Cleveland. He was not good at any point. Terrible trade, terrible contract. This fault's Jimmy Haslam. Not to mention the fact Jimmy Haslam himself had to pay huge fines for ripping off truckers with his Flying J truck stops that he owns. So again, he inherited a business from his dad. The Flying J truck stops, which was making enough money for him to buy an NFL franchise and an NBA and portions of an NBA franchise. And he was ripping off truckers and had to pay a fine. Huge fine. He was ripping off truckers by millions. So Jimmy Haslam has definitely earned a number one. That doesn't make him number one, though. There's David Tepper, the Carolina Panthers, who actually made his money. He didn't inherit it. That little star, that asterisk, his nipple baby. Jimmy Haslam inherited it. David Tepper earned his money, but he earned it as a hedge fund manager and a vulture capitalist, acquiring bad businesses and laying everybody off to increase their stock price. He's that piece of shit. Anyway, this guy keeps firing coaches, hires a coach, fires a coach, hires a coach, fires a coach, hires a coach, fires a coach, never gives him a chance, proves the worst trades in history, and they're just a terrible team, a terrible franchise, and the owner was actually last year at a game was throwing shit at fans. There's a real level-headed guy. Another shitty owner. Number 3, recently in the news, Woody Johnson vaults way up to number 3 because he just fired a general manager after firing a coach, after trading for Aaron Rodgers, after trading for Devontae Adams, after doing all this crap, bringing a whole bunch of players in for the Packers didn't want anymore because they used to play with Aaron Rodgers. All of this stuff, the Jets are terrible. They're a terrible team, totally disoriented, and it's all because of their owner, Woody Johnson, who inherited his money. He inherited his money. He's from the Johnson & Johnson company. You know them, right? They're the ones that got sued for, Oxycontin, getting people hooked on opioids. Johnson & Johnson company, Woody Johnson inherited this company, and his name is Woody Johnson. If you look up Woody Johnson in Urban Dictionary, you will get erection penis. So, erection penis, the third worst owner in professional sports. Number 4 is Jerry Jones of the Cowboys. Now, A lot of people might think the Dallas Cowboys are a really successful franchise. They're not. They're a terrible fucking franchise. They haven't even been to the Super Bowl since 1995. How old are you? You're 30, right?
Yeah, 94.
1994 you were born.
Yeah.
The last time the Cowboys were in a Super Bowl, right? The big pinnacle again.
1 year
They call
old.
themselves America's team. You think America's team would be in the Super Bowl all the time, right? All the time in the Super Bowl. Last time they were in it, January of 1996. That was the last time they're in the Super Bowl. Almost every team in the league has been in the Super Bowl since then. There's only about 5 or 6 teams that haven't been to a Super Bowl since 1995, and one of them is Dallas. And somehow they're America's team. They spend money. They got the highest valued franchise in the league. He built a real expensive stadium that's now falling apart, and they don't win. And he talks a lot. Of course, he did not inherit his money either. He made it from the oil and gas industry, but still a terrible owner. How terrible is he? When he bought the team, he fired the first coach the Cowboys ever had. The first coach, only coach the Cowboys ever had, Tom Landry, right? He fired him immediately. Hired Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. I'm sorry. No, he didn't. Jimmy Johnson won 2 straight Super Bowls. Take that back. Jimmy Johnson won 2 straight Super Bowls. In 1992 and 93, you know what Jerry Jones did? He fired him. He fired the guy that just won the last 2 Super Bowls. That's what he did.
We didn't agree on a lot of things, so instead of arguing or coming to a compromise, I just got rid of him. That's probably what happened.
Right. I'm the reason we win. That was the argument. I'm the reason we win. I'm the owner, so I can fire you. I can win with anybody. So he hired another coach and did win a Super Bowl, right? He won a Super Bowl 2 years later with the same players, basically. But it was the players, right? And after that Super Bowl, that franchise completely fell apart, and they have never been the same since. Number 5. This guy also inherited money. John Fisher of the Oakland, at least now they're in Oakland, Athletics baseball team. His parents made the money from the Gap, so he inherited the Gap fortune, if it is a fortune anymore. So he's a Nepo baby. Oakland A's are currently playing in a minor league baseball stadium in Sacramento, and that's where they're going to be for the next 3 years while they decide to move to Las Vegas. I don't know. But they're not the Oakland A's anymore, even though they're called the Oakland A's. They're not playing anywhere near Oakland. They're playing in Sacramento.
Oakland who?
In a tiny stadium, because their stupid owner just kept playing games with the city of Oakland. And it's a long story. Let's just assume the owner's a freaking moron. And that's why Major League Baseball teams making hundreds of millions of dollars are playing a game in a minor league stadium in Sacramento, because their owner is a clown. Number 6, Dean Spanos, another Nepo baby. Alex Spanos was his dad. His dad made his money in real estate. And he was the owner of the San Diego Chargers, which are now the Los Angeles Chargers. And Los Angeles didn't even want them. But they moved to Los Angeles anyway. Los Angeles was fine just having one sports team, but Dean Spanos said, screw San Diego. You don't want a team, San Diego. Screw you. I'm moving to Los Angeles. This is what the owners do all the time, right away. They try to jack up the local population for money, and then they move. When they don't get their way. When the taxpayers don't build them a nice new stadium for their toy. Because that's what these teams are. They're rich guys' toys. And Dean Spanos is among the worst. Number 7. Artie Moreno, you might not have heard of this guy. Artie Moreno made his money in billboard advertising.
Billboards,
that's a weird way to make a little fortune, but think about it. You buy a bunch of billboards, you buy the real estate that's under them, and you advertise, right? Anyway, he owns the Los Angeles Angels, and you wonder, why is he on the list? Well, let me think. He has one of the best players of the generation in Mike Trout, right? Then he gets lucky and gets Shohei Ohtani, right? 0 playoff appearances. He put no team around him. He put absolutely no team around 2 of the most generationally talented players in the history of baseball. And the Angels have played absolutely no playoff games with either one of those players. Isn't that amazing? 0. I mean, my team, the Milwaukee Brewers, which has no budget, which is not Los Angeles, does not have a fan base, makes the playoffs all the time. But the Angels can't make it with Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. Terrible owner. Artie Moreno. Jerry Reinsdorf owns the Chicago White Sox and the Chicago Bulls.
Really?
And he's on here for running Michael Jordan out of town.
Really?
Yeah, when Michael Jordan was with the Chicago Bulls, he ran him out of town and said, organizations win championships. Of course, the Bulls have been close to a champion. Well, they were close to a championship since then, so that's a little bit unfair. But he also owns the Chicago White Sox, which are a laughing stock of baseball. They won something like 50 games last year. It was ridiculous. It was out of 162 games, they won like 50, right? You can look it up. What was the Chicago White Sox record last year? I think it was the worst in history. And the White Sox, who have been there since baseball's been around, are probably going to move to Nashville or someplace because nobody going to their games because they suck. So Jerry Reinsdorf ruined the Bills, ruined the White Sox. That's a twofer for that guy. He made his money in real estate, so at least he's not a Nepo baby to some extent. Clark Hunt, another Nepo baby, he owns the Kansas City Chiefs. Why the Kansas City Chiefs? What are you talking about? They're winning Super Bowls all the time. That's Taylor Swift's favorite team. But Clark Hunt was a Nepo baby. His dad was Lamar Hunt from the Hunt oil fortune, the Texan oil men. That's what they are. Texas Oil owns the Kansas City Chiefs, in other words. And I'm not saying anything bad about Clark Hunt. It's just the NFL Players Association voted him the worst owner. There you go. That's the players talking, not me. The players, the people that have to play the game, the people who suffer consequences of lifelong injuries, they say he's the worst owner. I have nothing to say about him. You know this guy, James Dolan? The guy that started the Prism? The guy that built the Prism in Las Vegas?
Oh, okay, yeah.
James
the Prism,
Dolan. Yeah, he owns Madison Square Garden. He owns those Prisms, and he also owns the New York Knicks and the New York Rangers. And he's terrible human being. Several sexual harassment accusations. He banned the Knicks players from games, like legendary Knicks players like Charles Oakley, from going to Knicks games. Charles Oakley, a legendary New York Knicks player, cannot go to New York Knicks games because of the owner of the Knicks. Makes no fucking sense, right? But James Dolan, 0 championships, spent a lot of money, went after a lot of superstars. Buckus. Terrible owner. He made his money. He inherited his money also from the Cablevision fortune. Cablevision was a cable company, which has probably been swallowed up by now. By Comcast, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Number 11 is Mark Davis, who's the son of Al Davis, another Nepo baby. Al Davis is actually a football coach who made his money in football. Strangely enough, he made his money in football. I looked it up. Al Davis began as a football coach, became an owner, through smart investments, made the Oakland Raiders profitable, made the Los Angeles Raiders profitable, kept moving around, won a few Super Bowls. But Mark Davis, no such luck. He's not a good owner. He's clueless, and he's moved the team to Las Vegas, where they are floundering. As Las Vegas is not the rich stomping ground that they thought it was. It's the number 40 television market. Las Vegas is a number 40 television market. Oakland is in the Bay Area. Yeah. It's like in the top 12, right? So he moves from a top 12 television market to Las Vegas, and the team sucks. So Mark Davis, another terrible owner. Number 12 goes to a family, the Saudi Wealth Fund. Oh yeah, they own Newcastle United soccer team in England, but they also own the Live Golf. And we all know about the Saudi royal family. If they don't like you, they cut you up in little bits. And number 13 is Jim Irsay, the Colts. Jim Irsay is the son of Bob Irsay, who made his money in, what does it say? Sheet metal. Made his money in sheet metal, but he's another Nepo baby. Of course, the Saudi royal family are definitely Nepo babies. They didn't earn that wealth. Jim Irsay is the guy who moved the Baltimore Colts to Indianapolis. And, I'm sorry, his dad is Bob Irsay, is the guy who moved the Indianapolis Colts, or the Baltimore Colts to Indianapolis in the middle of the night.
Really?
But his son is no better. His son's
before.
kind of a...
Yeah, we've talked about this before.
Yeah, his son is kind of has got a couple DUIs, got a bit of drug problem, and hired a couple of years ago. He fired a coach in the middle of the season and hired a guy who had never coached at any level that was working for ESPN to be the coach. And then when that coach won his first game, he said, "That's it. Season's over. We're going to win the Super Bowl." Of course, They didn't win another game the rest of the season.
Oh, no.
Because he hired a guy and didn't know what the fuck he was doing. But again, Jim Irsay is on our list for just dubious, stupid shit like that. So there's your list. Rich people who suck.
And let's review again
Really
how many
bad.
of those are Nepo babies?
How many? 9 of them are Nepo babies.
9 out of 13.
9 of the 13.
Yeah.
9.
More than
They were
half.
just sitting around, dad croaked, and they got a team. That's all that happened. That's all that had to happen. Yep.
Also, this reminds me of all the things, right? This is not a joke on you. This is on a joke on men, hashtag men, right? Right? The joke is, right, they can't remember to, what they need to get at the store. They need a list, right? Like the wife needs to write a list. But they can remember every single bad owner of a sports team, right? That's the joke.
Right.
Like, oh, I don't remember my children's birthdays, but I do remember the best quarterback in 1971. Oh, yeah. It's like, what? Why do you remember that? But I'm very impressed that you can remember that kind of stuff, because I cannot remember fun, anything. Like if you ask me what was the best video game released in 2006, I would be like, I don't know, Skyrim? Or no, that was 2016. I don't know. I can't remember any fun facts like that.
But I'm not remembering these dates. These dates are
dates and what do you call it? Like how many yards?
By the way, Mark Davis has the worst haircut.
Stats.
Mark Davis has the worst haircut. We'll put a picture of him up. Mark Davis, the Las Vegas. He looks like somebody put a bowl on his head and cut. A rich guy can get his hair cut anywhere. Looks like somebody put a bowl on his head.
Okay, and cut his hair. I see this. Here we go.
Am I right?
Yeah.
He goes out in public like that. Wear a hat.
For anybody who can't see this, it's terrible. Anyway. That's all I gotta say.
That is the worst haircut on a rich guy I've ever seen. If my kid had a haircut like that, I'd tell him to shave his head.
There you go. That's what he looks like. He just had the bowl cut, Oh,
you're putting it up there.
Yeah, it's on there.
Yeah, we're gonna troll Mark Davis today. He's got enough problems. The Raiders suck.
All right, let's move on from the worst owners and the worst haircuts to some news about the Transatlantic slave trade exhibition at the British Museum, which I guess the majority of people back. I mean, if they didn't back it, that would be more questioning. This is from Leonard Bacare on The Guardian. The majority of people in the UK think the British Museum should have a permanent exhibition, I agree, dedicated to the transatlantic slave trade according to research. Mostly because there's literally, I think we read a story about this, 2 years ago. The idea that there's stuff that are surrounding you that were all paid for through slave trade money, right? I think there was a university in Scotland, for example, they were talking about. It's like this whole university wouldn't exist without the slave trade. All of these buildings were paid for by slave trade money, The ground you're stepping on is paid for by, like, the roads that were developed, the city, This whole city popped up because one dude was a slave trader and he paid for everything to be built, And they don't give enough focus to that, especially in the United Kingdom, to that idea that the transatlantic slave did bad, terrible things, but also you are kind of not responsible for it, but you're taking advantage of all that money that was made. You have buses because of it. So, new polling data by YouGov found that 53% of respondents think a permanent display about Britain's role in the trade of enslaved African people would be appropriate, while 2/3 believe the British Museum has a role in educating the public about the UK's history in the slave trade. When asked whether they agreed with the statement, as a society, public education about the reality of the British Empire is important in order for us to understand Britain's multicultural society today. 72 respondents said they did. Yeah, why are there so many Africans in this country? Or why are there so many Indian descendants in this country? Maybe because of the British Empire. You ever think about that? Where did these people come from? Descendants, they're totally British. The online polling was co-commissioned by the Good Law Project and the World Reimagined, an art education program best known for its globe sculptures created by artists including Inka Shonibare, that appeared in several UK cities and addressed the legacies of slavery. They believe that the ongoing renovations of the museum's sites, which had been billed as a complete, holistic transformation, top to bottom, inside and out, buildings, collections, and visual identity by its new director, Nicholas Cullinan, should include a permanent exhibit focusing on Britain's role in the transatlantic slave trade. Yeah, I mean, America has the entire museum dedicated to it. I think it's the African American Museum, the Smithsonian. So of course they cover the slave trade, but they cover all sorts of things in there as well, not just the slave trade. And I think they should do that as well. I think they should have exhibits for, I think there's like a lot of Nigerian descendants, a lot of people from Ghana, who came from, Ghanaian immigrants. Like a lot of those, they should have a museum exhibit too. Because I think a lot of reasons why we can't get together and understand each other is because nobody takes the prerogative to learn about each other, right? You guys are different, and that's enough for me to never talk to you again. Instead of going, wait, why am I uncomfortable around you? Maybe I should figure out why that is. Or you have a bunch of kids when they're like 12 be forced to go to the museum and learn about these things, and some of them might actually learn something. The World Reimagined co-founder Michelle Gale, who has previously backed calls for more Black history to be taught in schools, said a permanent exhibition would be a chance for the UK to truly look at its past in the eye. She said, "The British Museum's ambitious redevelopment is a chance to present history accurately and inclusively. George Osborne calls it the most significant transformation in the museum's history. Will it still downplay such a vital part of our shared history? The YouGov poll shows the British public hopes not. Let's seize this moment to showcase how Britain truly was, how it is, and how it aspires to be. A nation unafraid to confront its history and honor the contributions of all." Cullinan recently said in an interview with Financial Times that he believes there needs to be a focus on coexistence and cultural exchange amid the institution reported £1 billion master plan overhaul. The British Museum has recently engaged with its own collections connection with colonialism and the slave trade. The temporary exhibition by the British Guyanese artist Hugh Locke placed his own works alongside those plundered by Britain when it was a colonial power, and was described as inescapably deeply shocking by The Guardian. In 2020, the British Museum moved a bust of Hans Sloane, the naturalist whose artifacts helped form the British Museum's original collection, into a new case where it could explain his links to slavery. Sloane's wealth came from the profits of his wife's Jamaican plantation, and he invested in the South Sea Company, which traded with enslaved Africans. An example of how a place in the United Kingdom is benefited from trading humans. A British Museum spokesperson said it was open and transparent about the origins of the collection and actively encouraged debate on issues related to it. They said, "A current exhibition created by the contemporary artist Hugh Locke looks fully and critically at the issue of the transatlantic slave trade, and the Enlightenment Gallery has a permanent dedicated display. We also have a Collecting an Empire trail, which explores how the collection was shaped by this period of history. We recognize our role in educating visitors on all aspects of human history and evolving displays, so we're providing our visitors with the best possible experience." I think, what is best possible experience? I think they should be just thrown in the deep end, I don't enjoy this at all. Good! Go to a museum and become uncomfortable. Fuck comfort. Look inwardly at what you've been given due to your country's colonial past, I say. And don't be afraid to be confronted with those realities.
Yeah,
I guess
you didn't
let's
do
hope
it.
this pushes the British Museum to do
feel
something
guilty about
actually
things other
positive in
people
the world. Sorry, what do you want to say?
Don't feel guilty about all the crap your old people did that are dead now. Slavery, for instance. You didn't do it. Anyway.
It's not about feeling guilt. It's about being aware. It's about being not ignorant about it.
I'm just saying, be aware, but it isn't your fault, right? Because when people learn history, they tend to think, you're blaming us. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Nobody's blaming you.
Yeah, nobody's blaming anyone. They're just letting you know
That's
because
American
ignorance is terrible. You can't move forward as
You're
a society.
making white people feel bad.
Yeah, you can't respect other people if you don't even know why anything's happening, right? I don't like black people. Why? Well, I don't understand them and they're scary because I don't understand them. Well, maybe you should go out there and understand them. Understand your, Nigerian neighbor or your Ghanan or Uganda.
It's so much
there's so
easier to
many,
be
there's so
ignorant.
many countries. But there's so many countries in Africa. But I know there's a lot of Nigerians and there's a lot of Ghanans, I believe. Or at least when I watch YouTube, right? There's a lot of British, Ghanan, and Nigerian descendants who are, make YouTube shows and stuff. And I love watching them. Support your local person of African descent near you and ask them if you can get invited to the cookout, because you might be invited. That's my story from the British Museum, who's actually doing something positive for once. And on to this day in history. I got your link, by the way, just now.
All right. You got my link. Don't start it. Started at 6 seconds. I don't know if I sent that message or not, but you don't know if you want the intro. But anyway, it's like a local theater clip with only, how many views? Not that many. 506 from 18 years. Anyway, I liked it. It's kind of, what are these people doing now? Are the actual actors? Okay, this day in history. On this day, on November 21st, we almost went to the Kennedy assassination. What happened on November 22nd? We'll talk about that tomorrow. In 1783, the first crewed hot air balloon flight was made by Jean-François Pilatre de Rosière and François Laurent, Marquis de Arlandes, traveling from the Chateau de la Meute across the Bois de Boulogne on the edge of Paris in a balloon made by Joseph Michael and Jacques-Étienne Montgolfier. Jeez, a lot of French names there I had to pronounce. 1806, the Continental System, a blockade designed to close the entire European continent to British trade, was proclaimed when Napoleon issued the Berlin Decree. Ooh, so official. 1878, on November 21st, Lord Lytton, the Viceroy of India, launched the Second Anglo-Afghan War, because you liked the first one so much. In 1898, Belgian artist René Magritte, one of the most prominent surrealist painters whose bizarre flights of fancy blended horror, peril, comedy, and mystery, was born. 1920, Stan Musial was born. American baseball player Stan Musial is considered one of the game's greatest hitters. 1920, on Bloody Sunday.
Terrible.
Immortalized by the song by U2, but it's probably a different Bloody Sunday. On Bloody Sunday, the Irish Republican Army killed 11 Englishmen suspected of being intelligence agents, and the Black and Tans took revenge the same afternoon, attacking spectators and players at a Gaelic football match in Croke Park, Dublin, killing 12 and wounding 60. The Troubles.
And also, I guess, do they even mention the 40th anniversary of the Birmingham bombing on this day in history? Because it is today, the 21st.
We haven't got there yet. We're still in the 20s. 1922, Rebecca Ann Feltoni of Georgia was sworn into office, becoming the first woman seated in the U.S. Senate. Felton, who was appointed to the seat, served only 2 days. The hell? What's the fucking point of that?
Wow, shortest
1931,
ever.
The horror classic Sorry, what's that?
Wow, shortest ever. 2 days.
Yeah, it was just a gesture, I guess. 1931, the horror classic Frankenstein was based on a stage adaptation of Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley's 1818 novel, was released in the United States and helped make the hulking monster, who was portrayed by Boris Karloff, one of the most recognizable characters in film history.
Yeah,
1964, the Verrazano Bridge was finished. Go say that again?
No, I was just saying, yeah, I remember. I can see him now, the Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah,
the
you
original.
know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Frankenstein.
exactly.
And people say Frankenstein, don't realize that's the name of the doctor, not the monster.
Frankenstein's monster.
1964, Verrazano Bridge opened. The Verrazano Bridge is in Manhattan, spanning from Brooklyn to Staten Island, New York Harbor from Brooklyn to Staten Island opened to traffic on this day in 1964. So happy 60th to the Verrazano Bridge. 1995, we didn't get to the Birmingham bombing. It's not on here unless it's a featured event. Nope, it's not in here. Nope. Britannica dropping the ball. 1995, on this day, a peace agreement known as the Dayton Accords was reached by the presidents of Bosnia, Croatia, and Serbia, ending the Bosnian War. In year 2000, United Farm Workers called off the boycott of California table grapes begun in 1984 by union organizer Cesar Chavez to protest the use of dangerous pesticides. It was part of a series of UFW strikes that had started with the Delano grape strike of 65 to 70. Yeah, table grapes, pesticides, killing your people, not good. 2002, NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization Summit meeting in Prague, extended an official invitation to become new alliance members to Bulgaria, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania, Slovakia, and Slovenia. How many of those accepted? Maybe you know. A bunch of them did. 2017 on this day, after some 37 years as leader of Zimbabwe, first as a prime minister and later as president, Robert Mugabe resigned from office as the parliament began impeachment proceedings against him. Featured event 1620, the signing of the Mayflower Compact. On this day in 1620, a full 404 years ago, 41 male passengers in the Mayflower, prior to landing in Plymouth, Massachusetts, signed the Mayflower Compact, by which they agreed to abide by the laws of the new government they would establish. Yeah, let's start no trouble. We are going to be starving to death. Of course, they arrived late in the year, really late in the year. Couldn't plant any crops. So, featured biography, Voltaire, French philosopher and author. Born November 21st, 1694, so it's his birthday today. He turns 330. He died at a ripe old age of 83 on May 30th, 1778 in Paris. Born in Paris, died in Paris. Other birthdays today: Renee Magritte, British-Belgian artist we talked about already. Bjork, Icelandic musician Bjork is turning 59 today. She was born in 1965. Troy Aikman turning 58, American football player, now a broadcaster, born in 1966. 1969 is the birthday of Ken Griffey Jr., American baseball player, the only player in Major League Baseball history to play on the same team at the same time as his father. Yep, Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr. both played for the Cincinnati Reds. At the same time, hit a home run in the same game, as a matter of fact. 1971, Michael Strahan, American football player, is born. He's also a broadcaster now. He is working as Good Morning America, I think now. Old gap-toothed Michael Strahan, broadcaster and sack leader. And what national day is it today? It's a few things today. It is the Great American Smokeout, which is going to be the subject of our videos. The Great American Smokeout, where a day where everybody stops smoking. Stop with the cancer sticks. Stop with the lung darts already. You're taking enough chances. It's also National Stuffing Day, a whole week before Thanksgiving, but it's National Stuffing Day, November 21st. It's National Red Mitten Day. It's a Canadian thing, it looks like, because it's got Canadian red mittens. So I guess it's Canadian National Red Mitten Day. It's National Gingerbread Cookie Day. Gingerbread cookies. Let's have some. That's a holiday treat. National Rural Health Day, third Thursday in November. And those are your days for today. November 21st, 2024 on Before Stuffing. Now go get stuffed, everybody.
All right, this is Allison here, which I'm going to cover a bunch of International UN Days because I have missed, I just forgot about them. So we're going to cover a bunch. So I think the last day we did was fight against transnational crime. So on the 16th of November was Action in Support of Tolerance. So don't
Wow,
don't
we're way behind.
always tolerate. Yeah, I missed a lot. This is the UN International Observance of Tolerance and the idea of tolerating certain things, but don't tolerate intolerance. That's the number one rule of tolerance.
Exactly.
Do not tolerate intolerance. Okay. So promote peace.
Here's my
tolerance,
rule.
and nonviolence.
My rule is.
Yeah.
My rule is I tolerate everything except bullshit. There you go.
That is bullshit. I'm not tolerating that. That was the November 16th, so it was like last week. On the 21st, on the 17th, it was Remembrance of Road Traffic Victims. So the United Nations internal observance of hundreds of millions of injured on the road in the the decade of road safety is 2021 to 2030. So watch where you're going, be in a normal speed, and make sure you don't hit any people who are crossing the road. Jaywalking does not mean you can murder someone. Thank you. And if you know anybody who was a victim of road traffic, or a family member,
just run people over, hear them, scare them.
Motorcyclists, people's on bikes, that does not mean you can hit them just because they're going slower than you or being a nuisance, okay? That's on November 20th, which was yesterday, we had United Nations internal observance of child welfare. So make sure you protect children from violence and discrimination, and they have the right to health and education. Definitely educate your children, because uneducated children create uneducated adults, and nobody wants that. Today, we've got 3 international observances, so get ready. We've got the observance every 3rd Thursday of November is the World Philosophy Day. So some thought experiments, look up some philosophical ideas, and make a reflective equilibrium from a coherent position, that's what it says, of understanding social psychology and cognitive sciences. So just look, Google maybe popular philosophical ideas, and then maybe some of them you'll agree with. I'm a post-humanist, which I believe in the idea that humanity will one day... Well, actually, no, I'm not post-humanist. What am I? That's not the thing. No, I am post-humanist. One day, humanity will go farther than humanity. We will become floating brains in the cloud, or cyborgs, or robots. It's going to happen. Sooner or later, it's going to happen, I believe. We're all going to become AI. We're just going to be brains in jars, powering AI and Bitcoin. And that's all we're going to do. We're going to exist for the Bitcoin. Also, it is World Fisheries Day, so the UN is celebrating sustainable stocks of fisheries in the world. So these are the people who are not only planting fish, but they're also helping to regulate fishing so that we don't overfish and kill all of the things in the ocean. And this is not just fish, but just like oysters, mussels, all those crabs, all of those things that we used to be able to just fish. Normally, we now have to regulate because humans don't know when to stop. I actually just watched a video about the New York oyster craze in, I think, the 1920s, where they just killed all the oysters in New York City. Just no more oysters. All of the oyster beds completely emptied out because they were like, oysters, wow, let's just keep eating them and only eat oysters. Everyone was eating oysters. The poor people, the rich people, the middle class people, the foreigners, everyone. Wow. And they actually had to try to pass a law, I think, in the 1940s for oysters, because they were like, the poor people eat oysters. Like, they don't buy food. They go out into the water, and they just fish for oysters. So can you guys stop eating all the oysters? Our poor people can't fucking eat anything because you ate all the oysters. The good old days where you could cast a line and catch some stuff. Oh, you got an oyster shell. Nice. I've never even I'm more of a mussels person. I've never had an oyster. For me, it's a fancy food for some reason. And our final UN international observance is broadcasters. World Television Day. So go out there and watch TV. I haven't watched TV in probably 14 years or something. And celebrate those broadcasters who are trying to make it a monopoly and own all of and make all them Adam revenue. But yeah, today is World Television Day. So that's my world observances that I had to catch up on. We will see you tomorrow for the Friday news dump, where we'll dump in all the stories before the weekend, so you don't have to worry about any of the news until Monday. I hope you guys take care out there. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on that notification so you know when we post our next episode. And here is the mic drop moment.
And I'm here with a public service announcement for you kids at home. I know that smoking is
local.
I love this.
Ready? Theater people.
Yeah.
I know that I'm provocative and I make you want to be a smoker too. But the truth is, kids, you don't want to be like your Auntie Loretta. Stand up for yourself.
Auntie Loretta's got one lung left. I know.
Yeah.
You don't want yellow teeth.
No, one throat, like half a throat working.
Chest. Now, I'm not saying the hairy chest is from the smoking, but you never know. Hi, I'm Puffy. I'm the cigarette fairy.
The cigarette fairy.
Puffy sounds like Gilbert. It's Gilbert Gottfried. Right?
I like how she has like money. What is that? Oh no, her cigarette pack in her bra. Love that.
I go around to all the good boys and girls and deliver cigarettes and tobacco all over the planet.
She's like Santa Claus. Yeah.
With this stinking nonsense.
With Gilbert Gottfried's voice.
I get a whole day of rest. And you know what I do when I rest? I smoke. All you smokers out there.
It's pretty funny.
You gotta band together.
You gotta smoke more. Of course you would say that.
Yeah.
It's woo, free cigarettes.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, here we go.
Cigarette fairy.
I love the credit sequence as well.
Credits. Right on, man.
Hell yeah, hairy chests.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.